War is going on 1,000 kilometers away, yet it is threatening Indian LPG cylinders which are present in your kitchen. And whenever there is a threat to the commodities which are fundamental to the consumers, to the economy, the government invokes the Essential Commodities Act. Be it onions, be it the masks present in COVID, and now LPG cylinder. And that is why today itself Indian government has invoked Essential Commodities Act for the LPG cylinders because of the threat in terms of supply that is coming, which is disrupted at the Strait of Hormuz. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh and today we are going to talk about that what exactly is Essential Commodities Act, what does it mean, what power does it give to the government and how it has been invoked earlier as well. So let us begin with understanding the first very thing, that when we are talking about invocation of Essential Commodities Act, today itself what has been the reason why this has been invoked. So when we are talking about invocation of EPA of 1955, at this point of time it has been invoked because there is fear that LPG shortages might come into the picture, because as of now, because of the ongoing Iran-Israel-US war, we are seeing disruptions in terms of supply. And there have been certain complaints across the metropolitan regions that the restaurants and certain consumers have not been able to procure the LPG cylinders. And when we look at this situation where the supply is already threatened, we have been talking about the dependence that India has on imported LPG, and at the same time when we get to see that the availability is getting limited, that shows that yes, the threat that was present, it is real. And as of now, the global tensions which are around Iran conflict, they have already created disruptions in energy shipping route, and the government, our government, does not want that to affect the essential commodities, and that is why Essentials Commodity Act of 1955 in reference to LPG cylinders has been invoked. Now to understand this better, we have to start from scratch. We have to start with understanding that what exactly is Essential Commodity Act. When we are talking about ECA 1955, it is basically a legislation which empowers the government so that they can regulate the production, the storage, the supply, distribution and also pricing of commodities which are essential for daily life. Now when we are looking at LPG cylinders which are basically essential for anybody's daily life, if you want to cook, where we are promoting that we need to move away from wooden stoves, we need to move away from cow dung stoves, we are talking about pipelines, LPG pipelines, and LPG cylinders are being distributed, they are being subsidized. That is essential, very important to the present modern life. And because of the Iran conflict, as the supply is disrupted, there was constant tension about that yes, oil price spike will be seen, and there is a possibility that LPG and also oil, their supply would be disrupted, it will go down. But because this is an essential, government wants to ensure that by taking all of the regulation under them, that is production, supply, distribution and also pricing. Now when we are talking about Essential Commodity Act, another aspect that we need to understand here is that the whole idea of is this, not to cover everything. It is only for emergency timings, emergency situation. And in this, the whole objective that the government has is to ensure that there is no hoarding or black marketing. The availability of essential good is continuously ensured in the economy. The prices remain stable. If availability is there but the prices are so high that the consumers, they cannot use it in daily life, then there is no point to it. And also protect consumer welfare. And that is why as per this very act, government directly covers food grains, pulses, edible oils, sugar, petroleum products, fertilizers, drugs and medicines as well. Furthermore, government can easily add more to the list through notification. So back in 2020, masks were added to this very list through proper notification. Now, when we are talking about the present time, the invocation which has taken place today, here the immediate trigger that is right in front of us is the fact that there is a possible disruption that we know that will take place for LPG supply chains, especially which are coming via Strait of Hormuz. Another reason here is that government intervention here is to prioritize that cooking gas supply, especially to the households, should be unrestricted and should go on. Now, when we are talking about ECA, what we have understood what this act includes. Now, let us move to understand that what exactly this act gives in form of power. So, when we are talking about ECA, this helps the government gain extensive regulatory powers, and in this they are responsible for controlling the production. That means there is the government which will decide that industries, if they can increase the production, if they should increase the production of the essential goods, they are responsible for regulating the distribution. That means government will decide where will the product go, how it will go, where will the storage take place, what kind of sale of that commodity will happen. Furthermore, government, as I said, will be also directly controlling the stock limits and prevention of hoarding. So, this is where government intervenes and puts in restrictions so as to ensure that there is no excessive storing of the commodities. They also get in to bring in enforcement agencies which can seize the hoarded goods if black marketing is occurring. And most importantly, this is where government has the tool of price control, because if they want to fulfill the objective of ensuring stable prices, this is the way to go. So, what government does here? Government puts price ceiling so as to ensure that there is no inflation or immediate price rise that is seen. So, as a result, what do we see? We see the objective of ECA being fulfilled through these very powers. And if there is any violation that occurs, that is also deterred through heavy fines, imprisonment and also confiscation of goods. Now, what government has done this time when I am talking about invocation of Essential Commodities Act 1955 today itself, this time what government has clearly highlighted that the hydrocarbon streams need to be redirected. That means the refineries which use propane and butane to also generate other petrochemical products, they are not allowed to do that. They will be focusing only on LPG production. So, this is here where you can see that government is controlling the production. Second, an example of how the government controls the supply. Government has given a clear directive that the supply will only primarily go to state oil companies. So, whatever hydrocarbon stream is being generated, that will be given only to the state owned oil companies, Indian Oil Corporation, BPCL, Hindustan Petroleum Corporation Limited. And these are the firms which are responsible for controlling India's distribution network when we are talking about LPG. Another important directive that has come out for this invocation is that industrial diversion of LPG has been restricted as of now. The refineries and petrochemical units, they cannot use propane or butane for any other industrial downstream production. It has to be aligned for LPG production only. So, you can clearly see that how government has intervened to ensure that there is uninterrupted continuous supply, because in coming times we are expecting some disruption. So, government is preparing already for that in this particular context. Now, this is where we need to also look into the historical This is where we need to move and understand that why we actually need this. What has happened that this has to be done by government. This has to be done with the government. This has to be done by the government because of Iran war. If you want a simple one-word answer, this is it. But this has also to do with the structural weaknesses which are already present. Now, structural weaknesses have been widened more by this very war. India is already dependent, we know that. 85% of import dependence in terms of oil and gas. Yes, that is true. But import dependence is fine till the supply is fine. But because the supply is going to be interrupted, prices are going to rise, this becomes a big problem. Especially when we are talking about LPG, we have 60 to 65% of LPG being imported. Now, any interruption, this is a big number to be problem. Furthermore, when we are talking about supply, the concentration is present in Middle East, and Middle East is the main ground of battle now. So that is why I am saying that this is the main reason. The rest are directly coming out of it. Another important point, Strait of Hormuz remains the main choke point of this region. Our exports and imports both are suffering because of the disruption in this place, and most of all the energy shipments which pass through the Strait of Hormuz itself. Now, when we are talking about structural issues, another important point that we need to remember here is that limited buffer capacity is a bigger problem. Even if we want to store more, we don't have that option. We know that interruption is coming, so we might bring in more early, but that is not possible because we do not have the storage capacity. And another structural weakness that will emerge as a result of implementation of ECA 1955 is the fact, because we are stopping the use of propane and butane for any other work other than LPG production, it is going to directly hamper petrochemical industries, plastic manufacturing and industrial fuel users. That means economy will see a bump here. And this is not the first time that ECA has been invoked. ECA has been recently invoked back in 2020 when COVID-19, the pandemic, was wreaking havoc across the globe, and in this context when India wanted to make masks and sanitizers as essential commodities for daily life, they were declared essential commodities. Price caps were placed, anti-hoarding measures were brought in, and they were also implemented. Multiple times when we see onion price crisis, government does impose stock limits so as to ensure that there is no hoarding or black marketing. Other than that, there has been another important time when we have seen ECA being brought in is for fertilizer as well as pulse and edible oils regulation. So that means all of these which are essential to daily life, this is where ECA comes in to work as a crisis management tool for the government, so that the essential goods and the supply for that to the economy is not interrupted, the daily life is not disrupted. What are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comment section. I'll be leaving you here with a prelims practice question. Also, let me know the answer of this very question in the comment section. Thank you so much.